Tonight's bedtime story is The Sleepy Dreamcoaster by Jane Thomas. Koko is coming to the end of a seriously exciting day. The whole day has been so much dashing about he doesn't know what to do with himself, and he's lying in bed, eyes wide open, staring up at the ceiling. There's a fan rotating, just slowly, slow enough that he can watch and count as the blades turn once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. He gets distracted quickly and stares at the curtains instead, watching how they move in the breeze of the night. And then an owl hoots, and that takes him away from the curtains. And he's sitting up in bed, trying to see out, hoping to catch a glimpse of the owl sweeping through the sky. And right when he's about to give up, right when he's on the point of thinking he will never actually sleep again because life is far too exciting for that, there comes a knock at the window. Koko shakes his head and rubs his eyes and holds his breath. And there it is again. It's definitely a knock at the window. As quietly as he can, he pushes back the blankets and tiptoes across to the window and looks out. And there, standing right there, and he's pretty sure it wasn't there when he came home just a few hours ago, is what looks to be a roller coaster. Once more, Koko shakes his head and rubs his eyes, and then he closes them and counts to 3 and opens them again, and yes, there's definitely a roller coaster there. Only there's something odd about it. A squirrel wearing a shiny black cap coughs, and Koko looks down. The squirrel sitting in the front carriage waves his clipboard at him, showing Koko's name right there on a list, right there above Kira, and then taps the watch on his wrist. He gestures towards the roller coaster, and Koko, not wanting to be rude, climbs out of the window and slips into the seat the squirrel is pointing towards. Only it isn't a seat at all. It's a bed. And looking back, Koko realizes that all the seats are beds, and they're all made up with big piles of soft blankets and cozy cushions and big, plump pillows. Koko settles in, slipping the seatbelt around his waist, and then following the squirrel's instructions to put the seatbelt above the blankets. It reminds him of the time he flew on Albatross Airways, and they had the same rule there. The squirrel passes him a leaflet, then blows his whistle, and the roller coaster jolts forwards, lining up an empty seat, bed, with Kira's window. Koko watches as the squirrel taps on the window and then sees his sister come forwards, rubbing her eyes and yawning a little, and then doing as the squirrel says and cozying up into the bed behind Koko's. He turns around to look at her, and they exchange shrugs and raised eyebrows. Neither really knows what is going on. But if a magical roller coaster suddenly turned up at your window and a talking squirrel instructed you to get on board, wouldn't you? Koko looks at the leaflet and sees he isn't on a roller coaster at all. He's on a dream coaster. And a dream coaster, it seems, will whisk him around Sleepy Forest, then away from there, whisking him, in fact, to the far side of the world, and all in the space of a single night. The Dreamcoaster crew promise him a gentle journey, and one that will see him end up in his very own bed. He glances back at his bedroom window, now disappearing into the distance, and isn't quite sure how the squirrel is going to carry him through that and put him back in bed. But maybe there's a whole crew of these squirrels with shiny black hats and clipboards. Who knows? He didn't know until a few moments ago there was such a thing as a Dreamcoaster after all. And when we find something brand new to us, while it's a good thing to question it, it can also be a good thing to sit back for a while and see what we can learn. So Koko settles back into his pillows, takes the hot chocolate filled with little islands of floating marshmallows that the squirrel offers him, and looks out at the view. The Dreamcoaster is, for now, in very familiar territory. It's passing through Sleepy Forest, picking up a zebra here and a piglet there, the squirrel ushering all of them into their spaces, handing them the leaflet, and checking their seatbelt is just as it should be, nestled above the blankets. Koko looks down and sees the playing fields he knows, and the schools, and the shops on the high street, and the homes of his friends. And there's the bakery, and there's the river, a single slip of silver weaving its way through the forest. And finally, the squirrel bounds forwards to the front of the Dreamcoaster, glances back quickly, running his finger down the names on his clipboard, and then disappears into a capsule where he can no longer be seen. With all the passengers on board and safely stowed in their beds, it seems the trip has begun. The Dreamcoaster heads over the very edge of Sleepy Forest, where the trees reach high, high into the sky. And looking down, Koko can see birds sleeping peacefully in their nests, all curled up together as little bundles of feathers. The soft grasses and straws of their nest acting as the perfect cushion. And then he sees a little gate, and on the other side of the gate he sees a small path disappearing into the undergrowth. And up there is a cabin, and on the porch of the cabin is a man in a rocking chair, with his feet up on the veranda rails. And Koko sees a little girl headed out of the cabin with a basket over her arm, and he thinks for a moment that he might just have seen a slumberjack. But then the Dreamcoaster is rising above a cottage, one where the roses are always in bloom, and he looks down and sees good luck gnomes busying themselves in a garden, going this way and that with little wheelbarrows filled with horseshoes and four-leaf clovers, and acorns too, and goodness knows what else. And there, on the corner, is a cafe that he's heard about, called the Dimpled Dumpling. And he knows he's looking down at lower starry skies. And now they're heading up the hill, and Koko searches for the school and the church, and for where there's a wool there's a way, and for the little bookshop of Neither Up Nor Down, and the clock shop called Rise and Chime. As he looks down, a little round man with little round glasses looks up at the Dreamcoaster and smiles and waves. And Koko wonders if that isn't Mr. Timelove himself who's seen him flying by. Up, up, up the hill they go, rising as far as the village of Upper Starry Skies. And then they're racing across fields and meadows, everything made silver by the light of the moon and the stars. Koko didn't realize that the moon could shine so brightly that there could even be shadows at night. But here he is, looking down at fields where the trees cast shadows out across swathes of wildflowers, where buttercups and cornflowers and dandelions and wild roses are all turned into silver. And now they're over at the coast, and Koko looks down to see a silver beach, and there are waves crashing against the shore. And as they roll and splash, they throw out dashes of bright blue lights. And Koko remembers something from school about how these tiny creatures live in the sea, and at night they shine bright just like fireflies. And here he is, watching it. Thousands of tiny lights showing where the sea meets the shore. Someone is rowing a boat out at sea, and Koko watches as silver pours off the oars with each dip into the water. Sheets of silver filled with these tiny blue lights that sparkle and sprinkle themselves across the sea. The Dreamcoaster swoops and swerves, gliding this way and that through the night, finding the best route with the best views and the best moments. And that means Koko goes from watching dolphins race through the water to seeing a whale reach slowly up, 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 and then crash back down onto the surface, spray almost reaching to Koko and his blankets. And the sea is clear, so wonderfully, perfectly clear, and it is as smooth as glass. He can see down into it, and he sees a shoal of 1,000 fish moving together as one, sweeping left and then right, rising and sinking, rushing through the water. And suddenly here they are, and Koko is looking down at familiar, unfamiliar places, because he's seen pictures 100 times of the Brooklyn Bridge and the Statue of Liberty, and he knows that this is New York, even though he's never been there before. He knows that is Central Park, and he watches as suddenly tiny horses and carriages move their way slowly and steadily around well-worn routes, couples snuggled up together in the back beneath blankets, making their evenings last just a little longer. Still, the Dreamcoaster dashes on, heading out across Canada, moving over these vast areas where there is nothing, and yet there is everything. There are lakes, pools of silver in the moonlight, surrounded by mountains that are still touched with snow, and Koko can reach out and brush his paw against the snow just for a moment. Then he snuggles back down into his blankets where there is nothing but warmth. He sees bears strolling through a meadow, heading for a stream, slow and steadily pacing their way through the grasses. And they look up and see the Dreamcoaster and pause for a moment, stopping to shield their eyes from the light of the moon so they can see properly. They watch this great thing in the sky swooping and swerving, a line of beds filled with animals the likes of which they have never seen before. Koko waves, and the two big bears stay still, but a small bear, a baby bear, chases after the shadow of the Dreamcoaster and waves, excited by the magic he's seeing. And then there is nothing but ice beneath them, and the world has turned white. Sometimes the white is huge and pointed and rises up from the ocean. Sometimes it's in jagged, ragged sheets that seem to be in an eternal slow dance, shifting gently around each other as if they're ballroom dancers on a crowded dance floor. Then the Dreamcoaster sweeps to the side, and they're heading south, away from the ice. There are these cities, huge cities. Cities filled with what look like 1,000,000 skyscrapers all piled together. Koko thinks to himself that they are over China, and perhaps he has seen Shanghai or Beijing or some other mega city, the likes of which he's never visited. And then he looks down and knows he's right, because there is a wall working its way along between the rise and fall of hills and mountains, and the wall is wide, so wide that people can walk on it. And as he watches, he sees a few people out there in the dark of the night, looking up at the stars and seeing the Dreamcoaster glide its way through the sky. Then they're once more over jungles, and Koko peers through the trees and here and there sees elephants moving, slowly and steadily, pulling at branches with their trunks, skimming leaves from twigs. They stop by a silver pool to throw silver water over their silver backs that gleam in the moonlight. And there are islands, hundreds of islands spread out across a bay, each of them more jagged and ragged than the last, throwing themselves up into the world as if they're climbing out of the sea. Around them are dozens of tiny boats, safely sleeping, tied up for the night and bobbing gently on the rise and fall of waves. Koko sees tiny palm trees and tiny huts and tiny monkeys sleeping in tiny nests they've made in the trees. And from up here in the Dreamcoaster, up here in his cozy bed that rushes through the sky, everything is miniature. And as they pass over a single teardrop-shaped jewel of an island, a land that sends the sense of spices up into the sky, Koko looks down with longing at a place where temples hide in the heart of jungles, and people dance with arms covered in hundreds of bangles that flash and shine by the light of the moon. Koko keeps thinking about how tiny everything is, how very small the world looks from up here. But now Koko has reached the coast of Africa, and the Dreamcoaster is rushing along the beaches of Kenya, an endless strip of silver sand that never breaks. Suddenly, everything doesn't seem so miniature anymore, and everything seems as if it must go on forever, because now they are crossing a desert, and as far as Koko can see, peering as he is into the distance, all he can see are the folds and rolls of sand rising and falling. There is nothing and nobody out in this vast wilderness, out in this vast, empty, empty world. Only space and freedom and silence. Once more they head further south, moving down to the sorts of places Koko has only seen in pictures and read about in books. He sees giraffes moving slowly through the night, long necks bobbing up and down as they walk carefully between the trees. He sees hippos floating in pools, silver heads rising above silver waters, and then they disappear, and all that is left are ears flickering above the surface. He sees hundreds, no, thousands, no, hundreds of thousands of zebras, a huge mass of black and white that moves as one. And they are maybe 100 wide and maybe 1,000 long, and they are going up and down and through a river, heads up, hooves kicking dust behind them. So there is a mass of black and white, and behind them a cloud of dust that reaches almost as high as the Dreamcoaster, and is silver, silver in the light of the moon. And once more they're over an ocean, and there is a boat, a huge boat covered in containers, and Koko knows that in those containers are all the things that all the people in the world want, sending them from one country to another, one person to another, from one shelf to one shop, from one factory to one home. And it is almost impossible to imagine that all those containers, and there are hundreds of them, can possibly be filled with things. Suddenly, Koko, tucked up in his bed with his mound of cushions and blankets and pillows, feels very, very small indeed. Isn't it strange, he thinks to himself, how you can look down one moment and everything is miniature, and you can look down the next and everything is enormous. How you can go from feeling like a giant in one moment to believing you're just the size of a mouse the next. He turns and looks back at Kira, who's fast asleep in her bed, her purple bow dancing a little in the breeze. Koko wonders about falling asleep, but he isn't ready yet. Not quite, because there are more islands down below, more palm trees to look at, more fishing boats resting on silver beaches, waiting for the first light of dawn before they head out to sea. There are tiny villages, lanes lined with the soft glow of street lamps, and here and there is a light in a room. Koko wonders what this person and that is doing awake so late. Maybe there is an artist in one room, and maybe there is a writer in another. Maybe there are people who are talking, deep into the night and sharing stories from other lives. As he looks to the side, Koko sees there is a tiny sliver of golden light on the horizon. He knows that means the sun must surely be rising here soon, and soon the world that was awash with silver is glowing with touches of gold that the gentle rising of the sun pushes ahead of it as it rises slowly in the east. Koko imagines all those people in Asia who must now be waking, and all those villages coming to life. He imagines people standing on mountains and moving their arms slowly this way and that, pushing the energy of the world with the palm of their hand. And he imagines all the animals who slept through the night, waking and stretching in their nests and dens, seeing if they can have an extra few moments in bed before they must get up and start their day, burrowing down into their pillows and beneath their blankets for precious extra minutes when they can linger in that world that is neither asleep nor awake. And then the Dreamcoaster is back over Sleepy Forest and in places that Koko knows and loves so well. He has seen the world. He has seen the whole world in a single night. He has seen magic out there in the deserts and the mountains and the jungles and even those cities, those vast cities that are filled with a million skyscrapers and twinkle their way through the night. But somehow, home is the most wonderful place of all. Home, with its forest and silver river easing its way through the trees, with the playing fields and the schools and the bakery and the cottages and the homes of his friends and the porches that he sits on and drinks iced tea when it's hot, and the fireplaces he cuddles up beside when it's cold. And here is the thing that Koko doesn't know. Somehow he will wake up in the morning in his own bed, and he will never have had to climb out of that dream coaster and back through his window and tiptoe across the floor and slip silently beneath the covers. But when he wakes, he will lie there for a moment and wonder if it was real, if a squirrel knocked on his window and beckoned him to come outside. He'll wonder how he is back in his bed with the fan slowly turning 1, 2, 3, 4, and the curtains flapping gently in the breeze, and the hoot of an owl returning home drifting through the window. And he will never quite be sure if he did see all of that, if he did wave to a bear, if he did see a slumberjack and elephants and giraffes and beaches that stretched along shores as if for 1,000 miles. But beneath his pillow, he will find a leaflet, and on it will be the word Dreamcoaster, and the promise that he will see the world in a single night. Sometimes there is magic in not quite being sure if something was real or not. Sometimes we just need to let the world unfold and show us its beauty in its own quiet way. Sometimes all we can do is dance in our dreams. Now we're floating into a deep and peaceful sleep. Feel how your muscles are relaxing. Your arms are heavy and your legs are too, as they loosen and release any tension remaining from the day. Feel how you let your body fall into the cozy warmth of your bed. Close your eyes. Let your eyelids be heavy. Breathe deeply. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out as you continue to breathe deeply, and as you keep feeling how your body becomes soft and heavy with sleep. Let your mind drift away. That is the wonderful secret about sleep. While your body rests, lying heavily in your bed, your mind is set free, like a bird taking flight from a branch and flying up and up and up into the air. Feel how your mind loosens now, like a balloon that has been untied from a fence, and floats up and up and up like a bird. Up and up and up it floats towards the sky, until it reaches up into the clouds. Imagine that you have risen up high above the world and your head has poked up through the clouds. Then spread out all around you in the silvery moonlight, white fluffy clouds that look like cotton wool or marshmallows. They look so soft and squishy. You can lie back on them and roll around in them. Try it now. Lie back in the soft cradle of the clouds. Feel how they swirl and wrap around your body, holding you gently in the world of sleep. Clouds come in all shapes and sizes. Some are big and fluffy, some are slender wisps. Some look like puffy mushrooms, and others look like paintbrush strokes that have been left on the dark sky. Let your body relax. Let your mind relax too. Let your mind float off into sleep. You are peaceful. You are safe. You are being held in the cozy warmth of sleep. With your eyes closed, let your mind drift up, up, up and away. In the world of dreams, you can go anywhere you like. You can float on blue oceans with ripples and tufts of waves. Or you can visit castles built in the sky with spiraling turrets and drawbridges over sparkling moats. Or you can wander into the peaceful woods where the birds are twittering and the trees are dense with dark green leaves. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out again as you fall more deeply into your cozy sleep. And with your eyes still closed, take a look around with your mind at where your dreams have taken you. When I fall asleep, I dream that I've gone to a world high up in the clouds. Sometimes the clouds are dappled silver from the moonlight. Sometimes they're soft pink and gold, reflecting the light of the twinkling stars. What form do your dreams take? Where does your mind go when you fall asleep? Maybe in your dreams there are flocks of white fluffy sheep huddling together on the green fields. Look at the mother ewe yawn widely before she tucks her little lambs beneath her woolly fleece. Or maybe you dream of a friendly dragon, curled up with his tail wrapped around him, a little trail of clouds puffing out of his nostrils. Look, the cloud dragon is smiling at us and waving. What a friendly dragon he is. Or maybe you dream of cute puppies lying on their backs, their tongues lolling out of their mouths, their eyes closing because they've had such a long day. They look tired, and there's their papa dog, fluffy and white, padding softly over to wish the puppies good night. Up here on the sea of clouds, you can be free. Feel how light you are, weightless, floating, drifting through sleep. Feel everything heavy from the day lift off you and drift away, taken away by currents until they disappear over the bank of clouds. Any worries you have been having, watch them float away. Anything that has been weighing on your mind during the daytime, now you can let them go and watch them drift away. Your worries are not you. You are not your worries. You can let them go. Watch them float away. Now you are light as air. You are as gentle as starlight. You are as soft as the clouds. Up in the sleepy sky, everything is weightless and peaceful. The clouds stretch out like a sea of tranquility. Close your eyes and feel the clouds wrap around you. Feel them bearing your body gently into the land of sleep. Feel your eyes close. Feel them rest heavily as your body relaxes into sleep. Feel your mind lighten. Feel it loosen and drift away, light as a feather, soft as the clouds. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. The world of clouds is waiting for you. Let yourself fall into the clouds' soft, warm hug. They are here to protect you. They are here to cushion you. They are here to hold you as you enjoy your deep and peaceful sleep. Sleep well, little one. Sleep well in the land of clouds. Feel how light you are. Feel how weightless, floating, drifting through sleep, light as air, gentle as starlight, soft as clouds. Good night, little one. Sleep tight.